You gotta know how to persuade people. You gotta know how to talk to people. You gotta know how to relate to people. The person who's watching this right now, and they're probably thinking, how are these guys able to network with these 8-9-figure entrepreneurs, these celebrities, these people of influence? The reason why is because we know how to network. Your network is truly your net worth.
Today, we have an amazing guest. His name is Paul Alex.
He previously worked in law enforcement, turned entrepreneur.
He's CEO and founder of one of the largest online automation companies.
I was drinking quite a bit, almost like I was running away from something. From 18 to 24, I didn't like who I was. I get into a small fender bender. There's California Highway Patrol. They pulled up right away. Hey, well, we gotta breathalyze you. Okay, not a problem. I went just above the limit.
Did they arrest you right then and there?
So yeah, I'm supposed to go to Thanksgiving dinner. How the hell am I gonna go to Thanksgiving dinner and act normal? My entire livelihood is gone, vanished within a couple seconds. I decided to put all my motivation, all the hate, all the pain into building something for myself and to show people that I could be better, dude. I could jump back, make a comeback.
What have you been able to do collectively revenue-wise?
39 million across all my businesses.
Wow.
Yeah, as soon as I got out of rehab, I gave up my old life for my new life. I straight went to 6 months of hell to go ahead and come out a better man, dude. I had to go through another critical incident in one of my businesses where I found out that one of my executives stole $180,000 from one of my companies, dude. And the way I found out, and this is crazy, is
Before we get into this epic interview, I have one quick ask. Well, we've had the privilege of reaching millions of people on the show. The data shows that almost 80% of you guys who watch the show aren't yet subscribed. So if you could do me one quick favor and click that subscribe button right now, it would mean the absolute world to us. Because when you hit subscribe, not only are you allowing us to grow the show, get bigger guests, ask better questions, but you're allowing us to honor our commitment to do everything in our power to help you take your life, your business, your health, your relationships to that next level. And with no further ado, enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Passionate Few podcast. Today we sit down with Paul Alex for a round 2 podcast where we talk about how he's built a multi-8-figure business, some of the humble beginnings he came from, but also how rehab transformed his life and some of the life lessons that you could learn to level up in your life or business, even if you're starting from zero right now. So with no further ado, thanks so much for being on the show today.
my man, Omar. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, man. We're out here for Funnel Hacking Live. I know we're both doing some roundtables and having fun in Vegas, bro, but excited to do this again.
Dude, it's gonna be good. I'm excited for Funnel Hacking Live. I mean, you got some great speakers lined up for this event. You got Andy Elliott. You got, over 50 different influencers, consultants, and business owners for the roundtable.
Yep.
So it's going to be fun.
And it's the last one ever, apparently. And they're saying Tony Robbins is going to be speaking at it. So it's...
Yes.
It's going to be 5,000 entrepreneurs, man. So excited, bro. Excited.
No. Likewise, man. Me and the wifey are out here, and we're trying to definitely see Tony go ahead and talk and pour into everybody, bro. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we'll get into the story with your wifey, too, because I know that was an interesting marriage situation. So
man, it was crazy, bro.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But first, bro, let's give the audience a little bit of context. You know, what is CashSwipe.com? What do you guys do in the payment processing space? And then what are you guys doing revenue today?
Yeah. So to simplify it, I mean, we help business owners go ahead and wipe out 100% of their credit card processing fees. So on the back end, we also help 9-to-5ers or anyone that wants to be an aspiring entrepreneur and start a business as a beginner, start their own credit card machine business. So right now we crossed over about 39 million in revenue. It's the second year in business, man. I'm actually going on stage tonight to receive my second 8-figure award from Russell Brunson.
Heck yeah, man.
Which is going to be cool.
Nice. I'm getting a 2 Comma Club tonight as well.
Yeah,
bro, awesome.
we need to go on stage together and be like, like it'll be
Congrats.
awesome. Yeah, congrats to you, brother.
Thanks.
But yeah, man, just like anything else, humble beginnings. If you guys didn't catch the first one of the first interview, it was pretty badass, bro. You guys made it into like a movie trailer and shit.
Yep, absolutely.
It was phenomenal. But a lot of people came to us after that interview, and they were just like, bro, like your story's so real. I was like, yeah, bro, because I lived it, right? But a lot of people don't know a lot of things that we're actually going to be talking about on this interview, man. But just to give you guys a summary of basically what we talked about last time, former law enforcement officer, was a detective 5 out of the 7 years in the city of Oakland in California. At that time, it was one of the most dangerous cities to be a police officer at, dude. And I worked in East Oakland, which was gang infested. So every day, man, I would report to robberies, murders, the worst of the worst cases. And to me, you know, I never thought I was going to be the policeman. I just did my job. I'm a really good guy. I have a big heart. And at the end of the day, I was in the community to actually help people. So I ended up getting promoted quite a few times to like a gang unit, to a narcotics task force. Basically, think about like real life 21 Jump Street. And then ended up going to SVU, just like Law and Order.
Yeah.
And then from there, I had a critical incident that happened that we'll talk about in the next few minutes.
So how old were you when you got into law enforcement, and then how old were you when the critical incident happened? Like, what was that time period?
Yeah, man, it was
just to give the audience context.
No, absolutely. So I went to police academy in 2014. So I was I had just turned like 26.
Okay.
And then the critical incident happened around 2019. So probably around my 5th year. Right after I just came back from narcotics task force, I was going into a brand new unit, special victims unit, and I was supposed to be part of their FBI task force, which actually combats human trafficking, which is crazy because with me, my specialty, man, a lot of people are like, man, you're super smooth with talking. And I guess that was my gift. That was my passion in law enforcement. I had the gift of gab. And I got that from being in sales, corporate sales for 6 years, from 21 to 26 before law enforcement.
And what company did you do corporate, just for people who might have not known that part of your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked for a company called Ecolab. They basically sell cleaning solutions. I always tell people I was a highly glorified dish machine repair guy that did inside sales. And that's it. I ain't trying to make it sound sexy.
What was your first sales job ever? Because it seems like there's always a recurring theme of learning the skill of sales.
Yeah.
But where was your first, where like you went from 9 to 5er to trying sales? Because a lot of people, that first job, that first leap is scary, right? Whether it's real estate or an agent or whatever people are trying. So what was your first sales, like day on the doors or job or call? Like where did that happen in your story?
I did all types of jobs when I was young, man. I mean, with me, I wasn't the most studious person, but I always tell people this: if you're a hard worker, especially coming from parents that migrated from Peru and Mexico, that's all they showed me, man. They didn't show me like, hey, this is how you need to invest. This is how you start a business. They didn't give me those opportunities that now I know that I'm going to give to my kids in the future.
Right.
But what they did show me was how to be diligent, how to have persistence, how to have grit, how to have that mindset of never giving up. So at the end of the day, dude, like I was working since 15 and a half.
Yeah.
Started with Six Flags Marine World. One of my real sales jobs, I was the Al Bundy of shoes back then. It was Macy's women's shoes, but it was the best job I ever had. And the reason why, because it showed me to not be scared to talk to people, man. And it was the best position, especially starting out like at 17 years old, because you got to think about it. I'm working in women's shoes. I'm 17 years old. I'm a young kid, you know, with a oversized, you know, suit. And I'm over here, you know, talking to women all day. So at the end of the day, it really built my self-confidence and like my skills to actually sell people, right? But what I found out back when I was working at that time in retail, well, a lot of people are like, oh, retail, you can't get no skills. Actually, you can. I highly recommend anybody that's looking to actually get some soft skills, learning how to talk to people, because nowadays, I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
In the world of digital marketing, the world of Zoom calls, in the world of people just being isolated by themselves, people no longer have those skills.
Right.
And that's what a lot of employers, like myself, like you, we look for when we're looking for the youngsters,
Correct.
the 21-year-olds, the 25-year-olds that are actually going out there and want to go ahead and make a lot of money, or they want to go ahead into leadership.
Right.
And then they're wondering, then they're racking their brain. They're like, well, I have this degree. Well, I have I have all these skills. I know how to code. I know how to market. Well, you know, everybody in my entire life told me this, but then nobody told them that they cannot speak to people. No one told them that they don't have what's the most important asset in this world, which is H2H. Human to human interaction, man.
100%.
And that's what it comes down to. You got to know how to persuade people. You got to know how to talk to people. You got to know how to relate to people. The 3 fundamentals that I always tell people in business and life and everything that I've done in my life, because I've gone through some crazy shit, bro, is number 1, be able to provide value to people. That's the number 1 thing. You want to go ahead and work with some of the best people in this world. You want to go ahead and work with your heroes and shit. I remember that story you told me with Tony Robbins.
Yep.
Dude, you went to the restaurant, you paid for the family's tab, and then Tony was just like, hey, bro, thanks for that. Let's jump on a pod.
Exactly.
I was just like, fire. I was like, that's my boy, right? But at the end of the day, dude, like, People don't think like that anymore.
No,
it's just
no.
like that's an old school way of thinking, and you probably got that because you've interviewed so many greats.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, and it's funny, bro, just to give an example, I can't tell you how much genuine appreciation of people opens doors. Like I don't know if you're familiar with the restaurant Javier's in Newport Beach in
Of course,
California.
bro. Come on, Javier's the shit.
So,
Love it.
So I grew up and I could never afford it. So I used to drive there with my homies back in the day. It's a true story. We used to drive there back in the day in like a 97 Maxima and like just to peep it, just to check out the energy, the cars, at night everybody's dressed up, And fast forward years later, I would end up not only interviewing him, but we hit it off so well that like, any night of the week, no matter how busy it is, whatever we need, boom, they take care of us. I've flown with him on his jet personally to all his different locations.
That's dope.
He's become like a friend and mentor. And literally there was never any financial exchange, just pure, I bring him value, helped him with some marketing stuff, brought his story to the world. And because of that, doors open. So exactly what you're saying is people have no idea how many disproportionate opportunities are right next to them if they'll just do one extra little thing. Like even when I started, what I would do is to try to basically add value and get interviews is I would have my team make clips for guests, like high profile, like Cardones and stuff. And I would just DM them and say, hey, here's a clip we made for you for free. We'd love to interview on the show. So now it's seen through a totally different lens of somebody who's bringing value, asking a question, than, hey, can I use you to leverage my thing? You know what I mean? And it's those little inches that end up leading to big shit. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to just add to that point that that's exactly how you get disproportionately ahead, not linear thinking transaction. It's the little thing that blossoms.
No, and that's a perfect example because at the end of the day, the person who's watching this right now, and they're probably thinking like, hey, how are these guys able to network with these 8-9-figure entrepreneurs, these celebrities, these people of influence? Well, the reason why is because we know how to network. It's that saying that goes, your network is truly your net worth. I've been able to help thousands of people that became either my mentees, my clients, my associates, my friends. And typically, if you work with me, you become my friend because that's the type of person that I am. I want to provide value, and then I want you to provide value to others. It's a ripple effect, man.
Right.
That's how the world works, right? We're going to change other people's lives. We're going to change millions of lives here. We're still young.
Right.
So at the end of the day, when it comes down to is people have to realize when you're starting out, you have to give as much value as possible to those people of influences, to those people that you want to work with, because at the end of the day, they have the leverage.
Correct.
You don't.
Correct.
And I get thousands, dude, I'm not shitting you, thousands of DMs that are like, hey man, we should partner up. But in the back of my mind, it's just like, dude, I'm not going to really respond to you, not out of disrespect, but because the fact is I have all the cards on my table. You don't.
Right.
So you're the one gaining massive value from me, but you're not providing any value. So how does that even make sense? Right? And it's the same thing with business partnerships. Well, we'll talk about it in a bit.
And I want to add to that because people might hear that and go, well, dude, of course, easy for you. You have money, a successful business. What value could I possibly bring to you? But see, that's the difference. Most people stop there. Creative people, like in business, right? Like there's a wall. We need to get past the wall. A solution doesn't exist. Well, we're going to try shit until it does. Or whatever it takes. And I need an army of people and argue it, right? And so that's most people don't have that attitude. Most people, if they don't see the next step, well, I guess I'm not going to take any step. But we're like, okay, what a creative step. What about an elevator? What if we build stairs? How much is it to hire a guy to build a stair to get to the next, right? Like, we'll find that. So I feel like most people don't have that. And like what I used to do and I recommend other people do is like always believe that you have to adopt a belief that 100% there's something you can do for them that they can't do for themselves.
Right.
Like 100%. I don't care if they're a billionaire with a nonprofit. Like, dude, even now till this day, like I used to, this is kind of like from the, behind the scenes, but like Tony Robbins' PR person for years, I would send her every Christmas a box of chocolates.
Smart.
And jokingly, she'd be like, "Is this a bribe?" And I would be like, "Absolutely not. It's just it's a commitment I have to the relationship."
Yeah.
And so we would just have this fun banter, and then I would get her husband boxes. And so the PR was always ready to go. So then when you meet him later and there's a connection, it's like, and you know what I mean? That there's just disproportionate little inches that most people won't go. Another example is like, for example, I just connected with the CEO and founder of In-N-Out. And most people would be like, dude, how do you do that? Dude, do you know how many charity events and nonprofit events that like if you donate $100, you get access to some of the wealthiest people in the world?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
100%.
let alone if you make bigger contributions and be part of projects. And so but most people don't think like that. They live in they think everything is bigger than them. So I just wanted to honor that point and kind of humanize it for the audience, because me and Paul and other people feel that like, oh, what could I possibly do? But if you stick to it, you'll find the solution.
Yeah.
You know, but you just can't stop, you know?
Well, it goes with anything in life, man. I always tell people this. You could be prideful or you could be rich. And for a lot of people, we're in an environment of comfort because of the people around us, probably the mindset that our parents taught us, like, hey, you know, you can be better than them. There's no one special or more special than you. And to a certain extent, they are correct, right? Everyone is unique. Everybody has something special and unique about them. But at the end of the day, you have to find what is unique and special about you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Most people are lost because when they go into entrepreneurship, which entrepreneurship is one of the hardest things anyone will ever do. I will tell you this from being a 7-year law enforcement officer in Oakland, like getting almost killed multiple times, getting poisoned by fentanyl, all this shit. That was a cakewalk compared to what I do now. Okay? It's anybody who goes and literally lives in my shoes for like a week will be like, oh my God, how do you stay sane?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, medication and being with a good woman, married to a good woman. That's how I stay sane now. Yeah. But at the end of the day, this is what I have to tell everybody, is that you have to figure out, especially when you're first starting out, is how to provide value to someone who do you want to work with. So what did I do when I was in entrepreneurship? Well, one of my first speaking gigs, I offered to pay to sponsor the event. Most people are like, well, how can I get on stage?
Right.
How can I go ahead and approach this person of influence and talk at their event? Well, dude, did you ask, like, hey, if I pay you, can I have some time to talk on stage?
Yeah.
50-50, it's going to work. It's going to work. They're going to be like, okay, here's our sponsorship packages. And it's just that simple, guys. But at the end of the day, you have to be proactive and actually be able to go ahead and ask. Closed mouths don't get fed.
What do you think separates people? I totally agree. What do you think separates people? Like, if you had to put it into one word, Tony Robbins says urgency.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally true. I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. Like, what separates people from, like, who'll do whatever it takes versus who just stop at, you know, some point along the way. And it's the level of urgentness of have to. Like, I'll give you an example. At an extreme level, I was just reading an interview. One of my goals is to interview Jamie Dimon. He's the CEO of Chase. And I mean, dude, what he runs on a daily basis is unbelievable. Unbelievable amounts of money. And he was saying that basically one night he gets a call and he had like 3 days to figure out a deal for like $20 billion, and it had to happen. Otherwise, one of their companies was like going to have to file bankruptcy. And he goes, and I had 3 days to raise $20 billion, and it was through a weekend. So he like called his executive team, told them we're going to pay them all overtime. Said like, get in your suits, get in your office. The next 3 days, they had like hundreds of staff like reading through all different business opportunities. They made a bunch of different acquisitions, changes, sell parts of the business in 3 days. And he goes, so when people ask me, you know, why my salary is, you know, 100, you know, or whatever it is, it's because I solve problems like that, and very few people do. And so everyone in their own, you know, everyone's pain feels maximum to them, but that's just an extreme example, you know, of that in full effect.
Well, that's a great example, but how that could relate to somebody who's viewing this right now, right? Is that how can someone who, let's say, how much does the average American make right now? Let's say $50,000, for example. I don't know. I don't know the latest and
greatest. Probably closer to like 30 or something.
Probably closer to 30, right?
Yeah.
So don't crucify me, guys, in the comments. But let's say 30,000. Now you take that mindset of that person that's done $30,000 the majority of their life. Let's say they're in their 30s, beginning 30s. They're in a very weird place in their life because now they see all these 21-year-olds and high school kids making millions of dollars online. And then you still have old school millennials like myself. And we're like, damn, like how are these kids doing it? So you're in a weird spot because you were introduced into the digital world when all this was happening, right? So now you're thinking, well, I can't hit $1 million. Well, here's the thing. If you're already telling yourself you can't do that, you're already out of the game, dude.
Yeah.
And now you got to think about it like this. The reason why the Chase CEO, right, he's able to make $20 billion decisions like that and be able to execute is because the self-belief.
Yeah.
He has the limiting belief that he can do it, right? And I think it comes in stages because obviously I'm pretty sure he's a little bit older.
Right.
How old was the guy?
He's probably in his like 60s, 70s.
Yeah. So you got to think about it. That's 60 years of life experience, bro.
Right.
I feel, look, Omar, I feel right now I'm at my optimized peak. But I also know I'm not prideful to say, and I'm humble enough to say that I still have a lot to learn.
Right.
Because in life, dude, you can always keep learning. You know, there's always going to be somebody better than you. There's always going to be somebody that knows a secret sauce that you could go ahead and duplicate and be like, hey, dude, I can go ahead and take that little piece of what he told me and make my business better or my life better, right? And through these conversations and being in the same rooms and talking to people, that's how you develop yourself as a human. That's how you find yourself.
Yeah.
I was talking to Molly before you guys came. I was telling her, I was just like, hey, and if you guys don't know who Molly is actually behind the scenes doing, you know, the video and stuff. She's doing a great job.
Molly at Mediographer.
Molly. But yeah, you know, I was telling her, I was just like, at the age of 37, I'm the most confident in my self-belief, but then also I know who I am.
Yeah.
I know who I am.
Hey guys, we'll get right back to this video in a sec, but first, I have a quick question for you. Given that the e-commerce industry is growing by the trillions year over year, have you ever dreamed of owning your own e-commerce business like many of the guests we've had on the show, but maybe you feel stuck on how to start? Well, if so, you're not alone. The truth is, starting and setting up your own online store can be incredibly time-consuming, complicated, and get expensive. Not to mention the hassle of researching top products and staying on top of market trends that make you money. Lucky for you, that's where today's sponsor, StoreBuild.ai, comes in. With StoreBuild.ai, you instantly get a free custom-built, AI-driven store loaded with 20 winning products and a custom theme that can help you generate sales. All you need to do is head to StoreBuild.ai, enter your info, then simply sign up to Shopify for free, choose your store's look and feel, and voila! They'll send you your custom-built store ready to generate sales. The whole process is lightning fast. Whether you're just starting out or want to grow, StoreBuild.ai makes launching an online store easier than ever. So why wait? Visit StoreBuild.ai and in less than 5 minutes, you could have the e-commerce business you've always dreamed of. Thanks to StoreBuild.ai for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the show.
Does money also help tremendously with confidence? Like obviously it's the other things, but do you find that like money also gives you a sense of energy maybe? Or a hunt for more, so to speak, that wouldn't otherwise be there if all other things were the same? Because some people get hungrier with money, some people get comfortable with money. I'm curious how it's affected you or how you've seen it affect you.
That's a great question, man. So there's two things into this.
Welcome to the Passionate Few.
Yeah, that's it. Two things into this. Number one is that money, yes, can boost your confidence, but it's only going to enhance who you are already.
Yeah.
So if you're already a proactive, super ambitious person, it's just going to make you more proactive, more ambitious, because now you know that it's limitless. You're able to go ahead and produce and you want more. And the good and bad part about this is the good that you're able to help a lot of people. You're able to go ahead and change a lot of lives. You know, you're able to hire employees, you're able to start businesses, you're able to invest into charities, you're able to actually make a dent in the world. The bad is that can affect your mental health. Why? Because you got to think about it like this. And this is a true story. When I did my first $1 million in a month, probably 2.5 years ago, I was just like, man, this is great. Like, you know, I took out my team, we celebrated, we're like, great job. Everybody's like, high five. All right, next month, 1.1, let's go, right? And then the biggest month we've ever had across all of our companies was about 2.4 million a month. And I was just like, yes, we did it. Anything after that, you become numb to it.
Yeah.
And some people are probably listening to it like, this guy's full of shit.
Yeah. Complaining about $1 million a month? Yeah.
No, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's more of who you are.
The game you're playing, from your inner game. Yeah.
Exactly. It's who you are. With me, guys,
identity.
I've always been hardworking. I've always been proactive. I've always wanted to be the best. So even in corporate America, you know, I started off entry level, glorified dish machine repairman. I was 21. I had a buzz cut. You know, I didn't really have any direction in life. And my mentors, they were all 30 plus with families, and they were ultra successful. At that time, this is like 2008.
How did you get around those mentors? How did you get in proximity?
Dude, I was just humble. I was humble. I would ask questions. At the end of the day, you know, whenever you meet a person of massive value that has the knowledge, they're willing to mentor. They're willing to mentor, dude. It's just closed mouths don't get fed. They're not going to approach you. You have to approach them.
Right.
You know? And it could be something as simple as just like, hey man, I see that you drink lattes, dude. I brought you a latte. And they might be like, all right, they might not drink it, but they see that you're trying, right?
Yes,
and that's what I did, dude. I was like, hey, can I take you to lunch to go ahead and like pick your brain? And that's how I was able to develop these relationships into mentors, dude.
Yeah.
And then I was able to go ahead and be like a 1% sales guy within like 2 years.
What was it about getting money that made you motivated to do this or becoming successful or getting around greatness?
Oh, well, we're
Like for you, like what? Because for me, it was I saw a guy that had my dream girl in a red Ferrari, like in movies and shit.
Yeah.
That happened in real life, and I was just like, okay, whatever. Like I have to do that. Like whatever it takes, I have to. So did you have any moments like that?
So you're talking about the Fast and Furious with the guy with the Ferrari and the chick, and you're over there with Paul Walker, huh?
Yeah.
This guy.
Where they pull up at the light, right? Yeah.
Ferrari.
Yeah. He goes, yeah. How much one of those run? He goes, more than you can afford, pal.
Right,
Ferrari.
right.
Yeah. And then they,
Yeah, it was a badass scene. So, well, mine was a little bit different, man. It wasn't more about making the money. It was more about being able to survive. And I guess now we could transition into what we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
So back in 2019, when I was going into a Special Victims Unit, transferring from Narcotics Task Force, I was part of a Vice unit that was also part of the FBI Task Force. And their main job was to go undercover. Like we had female detectives that would go undercover and act like prostitutes. And then the male detectives, I would be one of them, we would go ahead and be their close cover. So in case something was to happen, we'd go there and rescue them and make sure that they're okay. And then we would go ahead and bust the Johns. We would go get build cases on pimps and all that stuff, right? Because Oakland has a very, very big issue with trafficking minors, dude. And it's very sad. It's very sad. You'll see girls anywhere from like the age of 12 all the way to like 18 years old. And dude, they look so old and they have makeup and like you would never know until you take off the makeup and you're like, wait, you're only 12? It's disgusting, dude. It's crazy. But it was very, very fulfilling because not only were we helping a lot of these young women go ahead and find homes, but we were also taking off these very, very bad people that were essentially trafficking these humans. So being a part of that unit, you know, I was finding my groove, very different from working narcotics. And I remember it was the day before Thanksgiving in 2019, man. And, you know, for all my first responders, you guys could probably relate, or to anybody that works a job that is high adrenaline, okay? You know, it was my day off. And I remember having a couple of drinks with a couple of my buddies outside of work. And it was 12 midnight, dude. And they ended up dropping me off at home. Well, when they dropped me off at home, I remember I had signed up for a turkey trot overtime shift where, you know, I would go ahead and do a traffic control post. And at that time I had a take home car, dude. I was basically think of any, you know, high speed cop movie where they have like undercover black Charger, you know, with the lights and all that stuff. That was one of my take home cars. And I remember it was 5 a.m. and I woke up like normal, dude. I always wake up groggy. I mean, I got allergies, bro. Like, it is what it is. And I showered, you know, I put my cologne and all that stuff. I didn't have anything to eat, didn't have anything to drink. So I slept for about 5 hours. Well, I remember going from my house, getting onto the freeway, dude. I get into a small fender bender. Well, during the fender bender, there's California Highway Patrol. They pulled up right away. And at this time, just to paint the picture, guys, I had a oversized hoodie over my uniform. So like if you know like the police uniform well, you'd be able to tell I was wearing the pants.
Gotcha.
Right? So I was in like uniform and then I just had my hoodie just till I get to the station.
Yeah.
And we get into this fender bender and I remember the highway patrolman looks at me and he's just like, how much you been having to drink? And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Yeah. And I was like, you know, I'm very transparent, dude. I'm a good dude. So I was just like, bro, I went out to drink last night, came home, slept it off.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know, your eyes are bloodshot red. I was like, I just woke up. It's 5 a.m., dude. What do you expect?
Yeah.
And the messed up part about this, and I'm not going to say it's messed up. He did his job.
Yeah.
I knew the guy.
No way.
I knew the guy, dude.
And he wouldn't cut you some slack, or he wouldn't?
It is what it is, dude. It is what it is. That, you know, at the end of the day, I respect it. You know, he has to cover his job. And,
sure,
you know, at the end of the day, this is what ultimately led me to entrepreneurship. But to get back to it.
Yeah. Wow, bro. That's incredible.
So basically, he tells me to wait. and then he calls in a backup, like a motor cop.
Right.
The guys in the motor, in the motorcycles. And for anyone watching, okay, if you get stopped by a motor cop, any in any agency, you're gonna get a ticket. That's their job. People always say like, oh, they got a quota with the tickets. Those guys do.
Yeah.
Those guys do. Everybody else, if they're in a squad car, no. It's just more than likely you did something illegal.
Why is that? Why is that the case?
Motor police officers?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I was never a motor cop, dude, but that was their thing. It's just like their sole purpose is to make sure that people follow the traffic laws.
Got it.
So at the end of the day, people always cut corners, dude.
Yeah.
They're gonna pass by the stop sign. They're gonna go ahead and speed through the school, in front of the school when you're only supposed to go 25 and they're going 50.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's not very hard to find those traffic violations. People do it all the time.
Right. So you're in this incident. You get in this fender bender.
Yeah. So the motor cop comes, and dude, he's raised up, and he's like, you could tell he's like an old school cop. He's just like, how much you have to drink? And then I was just like, bro, first off, I'm a police officer. I mean, like, look.
Yeah.
And then second, it was last night.
Yeah.
I didn't have any drinks. I just woke up. I'm going to overtime shift, and the guy was just like, all right. He started to calm down because he saw I was easy going, dude.
Yeah.
And in situations, I always tell people this: the way you can defeat getting into an argument, altercation, is by going ahead and never getting raised up when the other person starts yelling.
Yes.
You're actually going to diffuse the situation, and you're always going to win. You're going to look calm, cool, collective, and they're going to look stupid. So that's what happened.
How nervous were you internally when this happens?
To be honest, dude, I wasn't nervous at all.
Really?
And the reason why is because I knew my intentions was good, and then also I didn't think that I was going to get arrested for anything.
Right.
So at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a human.
Yeah.
I went out to drink with a couple friends, came home, slept, didn't drink and drive.
Yeah.
None of that shit, dude.
Yeah.
So when that happened, they're like, okay, well, we got to breathalyze you. Okay, not a problem. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So when he breathalyzed me, dude, I went just above the limit.
Yeah.
And he was just like, well, how much drinks did you have? Oh, a few tequila shots, freaking Coronas, whatever. And at that time, dude, I barely went out.
Yeah.
I barely went out. But when I think about it now, it's just like the times that I would go out, it would be drinks. It would be with friends. But why? And I thought back to this. I was like, what was I running from? And it was the fact that, I lived and died police work. Mm-hmm. I was so in tune with what I did. I loved it, dude. I embodied it. I dreamed about it. On my days off, I had to have that adrenaline rush equivalent to what I was living life every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why most police officers actually die 5 to 8 years after they retire, dude. It's a known fact.
Yeah.
You guys can Google it.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Athletes go through it too after their careers because they're used to the adrenaline of the stadium and the energy of the people, and then you don't get that fix anymore. Yeah. Skateboarders too. I come from a background in skateboarding where you look at the whole world as a way to do tricks and stuff. That's kind of how I looked at interviews. Yeah. Like every person was the next high of the next story of the next episode, So you got to find healthy things. that's the tricky part. Yeah.
Hence why we're here.
So then that happens. You get busted. What goes down next?
Oh, dude, it was emotional roller coaster at that time.
Did they arrest you right then and there?
So yeah, they arrested me right there and then. I had my piece on me, so they're like, all right. They take the gun and all that, and then they're like, all right, we got to call your boss, your sergeant. Call my sergeant, let him know. He's like, oh shit, let me go ahead and tell the command staff. And then in the back of my mind, I'm sitting in the car, dude. I'm handcuffed, and I'm like, about to get fired, because at this time, dude, it's 2019. This is when protests are happening. This is when they're going ham on California cops. Any type of misconduct, no matter how it looks, usually the newspaper would make it look bad. Yeah. I mean, dude, I was just thinking the worst of the worst. I was just like, damn, what am I going to do now? Yeah. Well, go back to sales. Like, I don't know what to do. I got to figure it out. Yeah. So then the next thing is, damn, it happened on Thanksgiving. So it's just like, I'm supposed to go to Thanksgiving dinner. How the hell am I going to go to Thanksgiving dinner with my parents and act normal? I was just like, oh shit. Because I just felt like my entire livelihood is gone, vanished within a couple seconds. I was done. I was done.
Everything you had worked for all these years, police academy.
Everything that I've worked for. By the way, I highly recommend that if you're watching this right now, guys, watch the movie Shot Caller. Okay? It's a great movie. Basically, same situation. Dude, a successful real estate agent, wife and everything, has a cup of vino, all right, some wine, gets in a car accident, and then he has to go to prison for 2 to 3 years because his friend died in the car accident. And then he becomes an Aryan Brotherhood gang member with that situation. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, I'm watching the movie, I was like, God damn, this happened to me.
Yeah.
So to continue this story,
crazy.
man.
Yeah,
it's insane. Watch it, shot caller. But to continue the story, man, so I'm in the car and
adrenaline flowing through you.
Adrenaline flowing through, and they take me back to their station, and they do I think it's called a Dragonizer, or it's a machine that basically locks down your alcohol percentage. Like, you're done. As soon as they do that machine, you're done. Like, you cannot fight it in court. Okay. And I didn't know this until after the fact.
Yeah.
You know, there's no way of, like, even if I was to get like Johnny Cochran or something to go ahead and defend me, dude, it does not matter. You're done. So then I go and they cite me out because in California, you're able to cite out for misdemeanors.
Okay.
So they cite me out. I remember my sergeant, a good friend from homicide, had came to see me at my home, and they were like, "Hey, dude, we're gonna come over here and just take all your guns." And I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "Because usually when this happens with cops, like, we just want to make sure that you're not gonna commit suicide." Mm-hmm. And I was just like, "All right, I'm not gonna commit suicide, bro. Like, I don't have a problem. Like, it's okay. Shit happens."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, but they're gonna crucify you at the department, dude. Like, straight up, just get ready for it. Like, you're probably gonna get suspended for like a few months with no pay." And I'm just thinking, I'm like, "Oh shit! Like, what am I gonna do? I got a mortgage. Yeah, I got savings, but I want to deplete it." I was just like, "Oh man, I'm just thinking the worst of the worst, dude. It's like the worst day ever." So then,
and you don't have any entrepreneur experience, so like you don't have the reference point of money can come from other sources or anything at this point.
At that time, dude, 2019, actually, that was like the very humble beginnings of me starting my ATM business. Which, if you guys don't recall, if you guys watching right now, don't recall how I started my ATM business, watch the first one. Yeah. Watch the first Passionate Few.
Yeah, and we'll touch on it too a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so I did have some income coming in, but still, law enforcement at that time was still my primary income. You know, I was making around $250,000 a year with overtime, and then that is what allowed me to go ahead and start side hustles when I like the ATM business and credit card machine business. But so they took my guns away, and then this phone call that changed my life, dude. I talked to the department psychologist, and he's just like, "Hey, dude, do you have a problem?" And I was just like, "No." And he's just like, "Are you sure? Because, you know, the fact that you went drinking, dude, and then you still blew over the limit the next day, you know, you're gonna get crucified." And on top of that, you're the first detective to ever crash a detective car. so I got the award. I got the award for that.
It was in a detective car too.
Dude, it was my undercover take-home car.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is like a bad stack, bro. Holy shit.
Bro, it was bad, bro. So anyways, this is still on Thanksgiving. I'm sitting in my car, okay? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, all right. He's like, "I highly recommend. I'm going to send you some information. Think about it, okay?" So the information he sends me, it's about a rehab center for alcoholism. And I was just like, you know, I never thought rehab, dude. But I was just like, you know what? I'm such at a low point in my life. I probably do need to talk to somebody, right? At that time, was I thinking I had a problem? No. But what I discovered when I did go is that, you know, especially in my 20s, man, I was drinking quite a bit. I was actually going ahead and, you know, I almost like I was running away from something from like, you know, 18 to 24. I was a nightclub promoter at that time. And I remember just getting obliterated, dude. Like, I was drinking, and, you know, it was one of those things where, like, I would just black out sometimes, some nights. And it was just because, like, I guess I didn't like who I was.
Yes.
You know, during that time. And
you're numbing
you're numbing yourself, like a lot of people do, man.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to discover none of this until I went to rehab. So,
how long were you in rehab for?
Dude, 30 days. I was on a weird vacation. So I went there. But before I went there, you know, I didn't want to tell my parents, dude, because I was just ashamed, bro. So I went to Thanksgiving, and I was pale as shit, man. I gotta send you the picture. The day before I went to Thanksgiving, dude, I was so skinny and pale. It's just like I saw a ghost. And I remember there was a couple times when I was on our narcotics task force where I had to travel for work, and I couldn't tell my family where I was going because it was like a secret, operation or whatever. So I was like, with that mindset, I was just like, I'm just gonna tell them I'm doing one of those. So then I go there. Hey, by the way, guys, I know it's Thanksgiving, but I'm not gonna be here for Christmas. And they're like, why? My mom's big on holidays, bro.
Yeah.
And she's like, why? She's like, I gotta go to work. I can't tell you where I'm going. And they knew something was up, dude. Mm-hmm. They knew something was up. They knew I was lying. And I had told the therapist from the department, hey, dude, like, give me 2 days and I'll go. Mm-hmm. He's like, okay, I'll make the notifications and all that jazz. So then I had 2 days, and I remember the day before I left, my parents came. They were like, what's going on? Did you get a girl pregnant? Like, what's going on? Like, tell us the truth. And I came out with the truth. And, I got to respect my parents, man, because they didn't look at me any different. They were just like, you know what? Shit happens. You'll figure it out. We know what type of man you are. And, things happen for a reason. And I'll never forget that. They're like, things could always be worse. Mm-hmm. And that's what I always tell people. Things could always be worse. Yeah. And at that time, I'm like, dude, I'm about to lose my fucking everything. My livelihood, my fucking house that I have, my $1 million house that I have like in Walnut Creek that I worked so hard for, like everything.
Right.
How can things get worse?
Yeah.
So then I ended up going to rehab, dude. I remember, brought a suitcase, got dropped off. And the people that I met there, man, they were just normal people like me. Mm-hmm. Normal people. There was CEOs.
Did part of you have resentment? Like, why am I even here? I don't really have a problem.
Of course, dude.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, it was just a circumstantial thing, and now I'm like the drunky alcoholic in rehab.
Bro.
Who got, like, to how everybody else, it looks like you're a wild
It was insane.
Fluke. Yeah.
It was insane because...
And no matter how much you try to explain, it almost makes you look more guilty or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at that time, dude, I went in there, and I was very defensive with the idea that I was there. I was just like, I don't have a problem. I don't need to be here. I'm like a proactive cop. The year before that, I was an award-winning detective, dude. Like, I was like TP, like top producer, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, no. And it was just like me deflecting all this, dude. Mm-hmm. And during that time there, I remember I had to go to 182 AA meetings.
182.
182, bro. I went to 3 to 4 meetings a day.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. One thing that helped me out tremendously was actually the relationships that I made there with the other people. Listening to their story, seeing where their pain comes from, seeing how they grew up and why they're in that particular situation. Because with me, I was hungover. I got arrested literally trying to go to work, and shitty luck, right? Got into a fender bender and I got arrested.
Hey guys, quick question. Have you been enjoying this video, but you're thinking to yourself, man, I love this content, but I want to learn how to grow my brand or my business? Well, if your answer is yes, you're not alone. In fact, millions of entrepreneurs deal with this exact same issue. And it's something that I've learned the answer to from interviewing 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs around the world. And this philosophy that solves all that is a concept called who, not how. Now, the who, not how philosophy states that anytime you're stuck on the hows to get to the next level in your life, your brand, or your business, that there's always a who to help you get there. And it's for this exact reason that I'm super excited to announce that I've officially launched our brand new Passionate Few community to help you do exactly that. And yes, it's 100% free. Join me and the thousands of other entrepreneurs that can help you make your life, your business, and your dreams a reality. With no further ado, let's get back to the video.
But for a lot of people there, dude, there was multi-millionaires in there. There were lawyers, all this stuff that they would tell me, like, yeah, I get my maid to like bring me like heroin to shoot me up in the mornings. And I was like, God damn, like these people have like real issues. And then I would listen to their story, and you know what, dude? It actually transformed me. It changed me, because it changed me from being an arrogant man to being somebody that had a chip on his shoulder to thinking like I could do no wrong. And a lot of that was because of my toxic environment in law enforcement, and then also sales, and the way that I was as a kid. And when I got out of those 30 days, dude, I came back a different person.
Did you find, that's incredible, dude. Did you find that like everyone, like the common denominator of everyone in rehab is that they're running away from something?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it makes you realize like anytime you're messing up an area of life that there's something you're running away from too.
Running away from the pain.
So you see yourself through their example. You know what I mean? You're like, oh shit, where am I doing the same thing that Tim is doing when he's shooting heroin in my own way or whatever? Yeah.
Exactly, man. And a lot of it came from their upbringing, environment. And this is what I always talk about a lot with, my my employees, my wife. And I always talk about like, it's on us to change and become the bloodline breakers for our family. Because here's the thing. How can your parents teach you how to go ahead and level up more than what they're doing if they don't know how to?
Right.
So it's the exact same thing. When I was in rehab, I was like, how are these people highly successful? And for most people, they think rehab, you'll have a bunch of junkies in there. You'll have people, homeless people. No. I don't know what type of rehab I went to, but it was a very nice one.
Yeah.
Like they had a chef, like all this stuff. And all these people, they paid a lot of money to be there, dude. And, a lot of them, they had families, they had people that loved them. They were genuine, nice people, but they had a problem. They had a problem. Something happened in their childhood, something happened in their life that basically pushes them to try to numb the pain, whether it's drugs, alcohol, or whatever other substance that they were doing.
Yeah.
So, I was a straight monk.
Yeah.
Those 30 days, dude. Work out, eat, go to my AA meetings, and just really, really, really resonate with the conversations that I really had in there with like the staff and the people. And after those 30 days, man, I came back a different person. I don't know what it was. Wow. I don't know if I found God, but it was amazing.
Well, and the urgency was different?
The urgency now was 10x, bro. Like I'm talking about
like like natural testosterone.
Bro,
like,
I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
Now, before I went to rehab, yes, I was still a serial entrepreneur. I was still working in law enforcement. And, I was building my ATM business. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'll go get these accounts and I'll go ahead and make it happen, right? But once I got out of rehab and they crucified me once I got back to the department, they were like, hey, dude, we're about to kick you out for about 3 months with no pay, and you're stuck inside. You can't touch a police car. You can't go out. Like you're basically a certified desk assistant. And I'm like, holy shit. So think about it like this, guys. Say you're like a top producer in whatever niche industry you're at, whether you're a first responder or whatever you do. And now you just totally crash out. Everybody's probably talking shit behind your back. And you're just sitting there. You're just like, wow, like I just went to rehab, came back to work. I'm shitted on at work. Everybody's like belittling me.
Yeah.
And what am I supposed to do now? Am I supposed to like live like this for the next 35 years? And there was a point in my life where like, why me? Like victim mindset, dude. Like, why me? But then here's the thing. I took extreme ownership and I said, well, I put myself in that situation. I decided to go out there and drink. I decided to take that overtime shift and get in that car. Even though I didn't feel like I was drunk or anything like that. I was groggy. That's how I always wake up. But at the end of the day, I feel like it was already written for me, dude. Like I feel that God made that situation happen to wake me up.
Yes, yes.
And
more so than that you deserved it in the moment, per se.
Exactly.
Maybe in the long run, you deserved the benefit of it.
And that was the reflection, dude. The reflection was
powerful.
the reflection was like, it was meant to happen. And everybody always asked me like, why? Like my mom will always ask me why. She's like, Mom, look, like, I'm working in a dangerous city. You know how many close encounters I almost had with death and shit? And I was like, probably it's my time. Probably it's my time to leave law enforcement. And that's when I doubled down. I came in with massive urgency, and I was very, very, very diligent with going ahead and persistent with actually accomplishing my goal of being able to become financially free. And that's when I really doubled down on ATMs. That's when I first started going back on social media after not being on social media for 8 years.
Right.
I wanted to change myself, man. So in order for you to change yourself, you have to do things that you're uncomfortable with to get comfortable. And that's what I did. I went on social media, dude. I'm not a selfie guy. I'm not a post, hey, look at me. Like, that's not me.
Right.
Right? But people probably go on my social media now and, you know, whenever I speak or whatever, and they're probably like, oh, he's a natural. Nah, dude, that was like hundreds and hundreds of times that I've done this shit.
Yeah.
And I just got comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you guys go back to like 4 years when I started this, oh man, I was a mess.
Yeah.
I was, you know, stuttering. I was forgetting shit, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, man, anything that anyone's going in their life right now, if you have a critical incident, you have medical emergencies with your family, which at that time I also had medical emergencies with my family, and your back's against the wall, just don't give up. Because I did go through depression. I really did. And after I came back from rehab, dude, was the first time in my life where I laid in bed and I couldn't move. Not because I was hurt.
How old were you when you got out of rehab?
This was 2019, dude. So 2020, I'm 37 now. So I was like 30, 31, like around that time.
Yeah.
So I'm in my 30s. I never felt depression until like my early 30s. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like a, oh shit moment. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Right?
Especially when years prior, you were winning, you were in momentum, you were in law enforcement, you got $1 million house. Yeah, yeah.
At that time, I was like, you know, like what Andrew Tate says, top G, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, I was just like, yeah, I'm winning in life.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll talk about the red pill top G stuff. But
we will.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. So, you know, it was very unique. And if it wasn't for my therapist back in the department, man, he saved my life, dude. He saved my life. And he was just like, hey, dude, I think you should go on some meds. And I was just like, nah, I can't. Nah. Like, first I went to rehab. Come on, dude.
Right.
Like, you're telling me all this shit. He's like, it will help. You'll feel better. Hey, man, I got to give it to him. Put me on the pills, Prozac. And, dude, it felt like a fresh of breath air, dude. And I was like motivated. And like, I was like, yeah, let's do this. Felt like me again.
Yeah.
And got to work, man. Got into digital marketing. I call it 6 months of hell because I was still working at the department.
Yep.
I was running my ATM business. And then I had built a multi-million-dollar digital marketing company in 6 months. But it was great. I feel like I had to go through all that pain. I had to go through those experiences. I had to go through hell in order to find myself. But when I left my job in July of 2021, which was 3 days before 4th of July.
Wow.
I was like, I'm going to start fresh, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell my home. I'm going to move to San Diego. I'm going to just rebuild myself. That's what I did. I rebuilt myself. I sold everything.
Why San Diego?
Dude, I looked at the map and I was just like, it's either, San Diego or Arizona or whatever.
So, I'm going to reinvent myself.
Yeah, I just wanted to go somewhere where I didn't know anybody, man. And that's what I did. I went in there and, I took a calculated risk because I was just like, dude, I'm making enough money where I could go ahead and move somewhere where no one knows me. And I'm able to just rebuild myself. I'm able to go ahead and build this brand new venture and have new environment and start fresh, get inspired.
And so you moved to San Diego and then you started doing that right away?
Dude, it was awesome. And it really depends on your environment because where I was at, I was living in downtown San Diego. I had gotten a penthouse, 44th floor, dude. I had the view of the ocean, so I was waking up to the terrace, drinking my coffee at 5 a.m., dude. And it was awesome. I was just focused. I was so focused. And, at that time, I had found myself, dude. I had found myself. I knew who I was, and I was able to go ahead and talk to people and really relate to people.
How are you making money at that time? Did you start making money before you essentially moved there? Like entrepreneurially?
So one of the things I always tell people is make sure you don't have to hit millions before you leave your job, but you have to be able to cover your bills. So I was able to cover my bills. So I was financially free by the time that I left law enforcement. And that's the one thing I would tell people. Never, never, never leave your main source of income from your 9 to 5 until you're able to cover it from your side hustle. That's the first move. Because I feel like a lot of people, they feel like entrepreneurs, they see us at stage 20, when at stage 1, realistically, you're supposed to cover your bills and make sure that you're okay. Because how are you supposed to be able to grow a multi-million-dollar business, or grow a venture that it's actually going to be a real company if you're stressing about your personal life?
Paying rent. Yeah,
exactly, dude. And that same thing goes with relationships. That's the same thing goes with family, toxic people. You got to get rid of all of them. And that's why I decided when I went on there, man, you know, in rehab, it really put things into perspective. Everybody in rehab, even though we were all there to, you know, fight our demons and to get better, everybody was so supportive. People, like, you could just tell people were so genuine. They all knew we were there because we had a problem. We all cared for each other. So at the end of the day, that's what really, really built up my empathy. And like, it changed me as a person because, like I said, man, before I went to rehab, I was arrogant, chip on my shoulder dude. I was how a lot of these red pill guys like to say, alpha, all that shit, dude, you know? And I came back and I found myself. I found myself, dude. And that's what I'm able to bring to the table now in business is the fact that I know who I am. I attract a certain avatar, meaning an ideal client that wants to come work for me because what I say is real. The experiences that I've gone through is real. The things that I've built is real. So when they hear me speak, they're always like, you know, number one reason why clients work with anyone in this world is because of the actual person who built the company or found the company. And that's, you know, in marketing, we like to call them the attractive character, right?
Right.
So essentially, when you're the face of the company, dude, people are buying you. People are buying you, man. You know? And I always tell people this. They're like, dude, how were you able to do all this? Well, number one, I believed in myself. But then number two, I just didn't give a shit about what anyone else said after I came back, dude. Rehab, because I was already in the bottom, dude. And when you're in the bottom, what else do you have to lose? You know, it's just like my self-respect, all that shit, like went out the window when I went to rehab, and I was just like, fuck, dude, I gotta get out of this hole. And then when I was in depression, I was the same thing. I was like, I gotta get out of this hole, dude. Everything was just like fighting for it. So instead of going the opposite way and going back to drinking alcohol or getting into drugs, you know, I decided to put all my motivation, all the hate, all the pain into building something for myself and to show people that I could be better, dude. I could jump back, you know, make a comeback, you know?
And to give the audience context, since you did that, what have you been able to do collectively revenue-wise, if you can share any numbers?
Yeah, no worries, man. So my first venture with ATMs in total, okay, that was around 28 million in 2.5 years.
And what was the business model, just to give the audience?
So the business model initially was first I had built my own tangible ATM business. I had 30 locations that was netting me around 12 to 15,000, which made me financially free. From there, I used digital marketing, and I learned digital marketing from some of the best marketers like Russell Brunson, Dan Henry, all these guys. And I was able to create a company called ATM Together, where essentially we would help anyone, any aspiring entrepreneur in Canada or the US, build their own ATM business, find locations, teach them, you know, how to install, remove, how to go ahead and do sales, prospect, market. And there was a huge market for it, man, because it's a very simple concept, right?
How did you first hear about ATMs? Like, what was the first spark where you were like, huh?
It was actually a veteran back in my department. He was the type of guy, really nice guy, but he would always come and talk to me when I was in the office, and he'd be like, dude, have you heard about, you know, Tesla at the time? Have you heard about these investments? But he was the type of guy that he would always talk about things, but would never execute. So he brought ATMs up there. He's like, oh, dude, you should really check out the ATM business. And this is back when I was in the task force, and I was just like, dude, maybe I should start like a side hustle. And that was the first, you know, thing that he said. He's just like, hey, ATMs. And I was like, I sat on it for like 6 months, and then I was just like, okay, I'm going to start. Yeah. And I ended up executing and whatnot, And
it's a simple business model. That's what's cool about it. It's like you place it, you find the location, and then it's systemized. It's not like you have to actively run it, other than maybe changing out bills and safety.
Correct.
But it's a very simple, effective, and it's money. The money business is never bad business.
It's great for a beginner.
Yeah.
It's great for a beginner. People probably watching this now, they're probably like, well, is this still sustainable in 2025? Well, just currently, 25% of the United States still uses cash. But the thing is, your uphill battle is going to be the banks. Because in order for you to actually start an ATM business, you need a business checking account that is approved by whoever you bank with. Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, you know, the big three, they usually deny 99.9% of bankers. If you guys live in a state where you bank with Comerica, I highly recommend that you guys use them because they will still allow you, if you're an ATM business owner or want to be one, and then tell them Paul Alex sent you. Because I do have a connect over there.
Awesome.
They were helping a lot of my clients during that time where I was running that business. And then, that's the big hurdle. The second hurdle that you have now is that when we launched that business in the beginning of 2021 till now, the market's just becoming saturated. I mean, that's just simply what it is, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It's been 4 years. We've enrolled 3,600 clients that have started their ATM business, and majority of them still running it. Some of them changed their life completely, dude.
That's amazing.
I have one buddy right now that's making like $50,000 from ATMs. He has like 170 ATMs, which is great for him. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And you live in Colorado? Like, hell yeah, right? Like, he's just happy, dude. He's just doing his thing. So,
and then you pivoted from like so you did it yourself, then you help people build theirs with the locations. And then you're kind of like, every time you pivot per se, you're upgrading the offer as you can gain the skills to help more people. So after that, I know you got into the devices, right?
Yeah. So in December of 2022, I ended up meeting my two mentors, but now business partners, John Sarabia and Robson. They're out of Los Angeles. I think it's West Hollywood. And they were in the merchant services industry, which is a credit card machine business, for the past 20 years now. And these guys, they're players in the game, man. 9 figures, $170 million in revenue from their business of doing it for 15 years. And they were like, hey, we want to partner up with you. And I was like, why? And they were like, well, we saw what you did with ATMs. We think there's a big market within merchant services. What do you think? And then I was like, I'm not really a big believer. Like, why would people come and do business with us when there's already credit card machines with almost every single business out there? And then they went ahead and they were like, well, here's the thing, path of least resistance. And that's terminology that I like to use back in law enforcement, path of least resistance. And I use the same thing in business, right? Yeah. Because you want to work smarter, not harder. And they're like, there's a special program called the cash discount program. So the cash discount program is essentially where you're able to put the convenience fee of the credit card processing onto the client instead of the merchant. Okay. So think about it like this. Let's say a merchant is doing $100,000 in revenue, and they're getting charged a percentage of their credit card processing fees. Let's say they're paying like up to $4,000 a month. And this goes to Chase. This goes to the big processing companies.
What are those percentages? No, mostly like 3 to 4% or something?
They range anywhere between about 2% to up to 4%. Okay. Depending also what state you're at as well, because they've changed the laws. Okay. So one thing that I always tell people, and the limiting belief behind this for the people that are thinking about doing this, is that, well, why would they come work with a local like me when they could work with, like, let's say Clover? They could work with these major processing companies like Square, or they could work with these big banks like Chase. Well, here's the thing. Majority of business owners, they're brand new business owners. There's millions and millions of people who start businesses. But when they go to the bank, they're getting a business checking account. So the banker's job is to go ahead and upsell them on a merchant services account. That's why they're going to ask them questions like, hey, by the way, Omar, you're starting this taqueria, or you're starting this shoe store.
I like the taqueria was the first example.
Yeah. I mean, I love Mexican food, bro.
Me too. I'm half Mexican, so
bro, I mean, there's a good spot down here. I got to tell you about it. Yeah, dude. So the banker's like questioning you like, oh, do you have merchant services? And then you're like, no, I don't even know what that is, right? Most people don't. And then they end up signing you up. They're like, okay, here's your devices. Here's the system. This is how it works. But what they don't tell you is that you're getting charged an arm and a leg, dude. You're getting charged an arm and a leg with traditional credit card processing. Now, they think that is the cost of doing business, which if you're a baby boomer, I get it. You're stuck in your ways. But in 2025, okay, the name of the game is path of least resistance. Work smarter, not harder. So less overhead, right?
Right.
More money for you, right? And then what can you do with that money? You can invest into new employees. You could go ahead and pay for your family, take care of them, and expand the business. So at the end of the day, as a business owner, you're doing yourself a disservice by not using the cash discount program and charging your clients that percentage. Why? Because in 2020, when COVID happened, 2019, 2020, when COVID started happening, what companies skyrocketed to billion-dollar companies? Uber Eats, Uber, all these companies, applications, dude, that you have to pay massive fees to use, right? So think about that. Instacart for groceries.
Yes.
Dude, there's even services now for boutique items. You could get now CVS pharmacy and you get charged $25. That's not even including the tip, right?
Right.
So at the end of the day, if people are willing to pay for convenience for their home, why wouldn't they be willing to pay for convenience at their favorite restaurant, convenience at their favorite convenience store, at their favorite bar?
And customers aren't going to like walk out and be like, "What? I have to pay this extra thing. I'm out after I have all the stuff."
No.
And then that's how you compete with the traditional banks. When you go in there and you have somebody, it's like, "Hey, you keep the fee." Yeah. What's the hard sell?
Well, here's the cool part about this, and here's the advantage that a lot of people have, especially us, because we've been in business since February of 2023, but we've already converted over 1,000 accounts nationwide that had competitors. These aren't new locations, dude. So the people are thinking like, oh, well, you got new locations. No, brother. I walk in where there's a competitor, I eat them alive.
Wow.
So when it comes down to it, it is H2H. Here we go. Human to human interaction. So when you're able to go into the business and actually say like, hey, I'm actually a local. Like I live in this town. Dude, the instant rapport that you get from small business owners, it's second to none, dude. Because majority of business owners have never seen a merchant services agent or a banker from their actual company, dude. They've only talked to them on the 1-800 line. Majority of businesses also, when they go ahead and they have to find a merchant services, if the banker doesn't get them, guess what? They're going directly to the website to sign up for the service. So they don't know any better.
There's a lot of friction there.
Dude, a lot of friction.
Uncertainty, yeah.
They don't have somebody that's providing value. They don't have somebody that's providing foundation. They don't have somebody that's educating them. And that's the biggest needle mover here is we're educating people now. We're educating small business owners that own a nail salon or a haircut place. And then they're, in return, going ahead and starting this business for their business as their first client, but then they're enrolling all the rest of their associates.
And then you guys get to empower people who sign up and have their own devices to make money passively through other people's business.
Exactly, dude.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody.
That's
and here's
genius.
a great thing. We get a lot of people, especially in the online space, they go ahead and, well, what's in it for you, Paul? Well, what's in it for you? Well, come on, guys. We own the network. So at the end of the day, the reason why you're able to go ahead and process the credit cards is because of the network that we have with my business partners. And then also, we put a badass program where you're actually able to fly into Miami, LA, and actually get training with us one-on-one. These are people that I've actually enrolled as clients in the past 2 years, and I've actually hired them as coaches because they became financially free from this program. So just imagine that. You get a peer that was where you're at a year ago or 6 months ago, and now they've transitioned from being a nurse or a farmer or an Uber driver. And they're financially free, dude. They're able to go ahead and take care of their kids. They're able to go ahead and take their kids out to sporting events. They're able to go ahead and actually spend life, right? Travel. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah, freedom. So I would be stupid to not transition from ATMs to go full-time on credit card machines because of that idea.
I was just going to say that because, ATMs, there's only so many physical locations that you can put an ATM. Like how you said, it's saturated, but every business and every new business, and there's millions opening up every day. There's not millions of ATMs opening up every day. There's millions of businesses opening up annually. And so every one of those businesses is a potential customer. So your TAM is humongous. Your total addressable market's humongous. And then you empower people in whatever city. They don't have to be in LA or New York. They could be in Wyoming and sell it to the guy at the gas station. And you know what I mean? It's like scalable. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, the other great part about this is you're able to do this remote.
And these are all devices? Like what's the actual product?
So you actually have the devices, and then you have POS, which is point of sale, which looks like an iPad basically. And then we also have digital platforms. So we're able to compete with like Stripe. We're able to compete with all these e-commerce stores and all that jazz. Because I know that's big in the space. Stripe, the past 2 years, they probably held about $500,000 of my money because they started blacklisting any digital consulting form that doesn't have a tangible item. Lucky for us, though, we do. Yeah. It's a hybrid.
It's funny. I was actually talking to a lot of friends in the mutual space, even for services, production services, anything high ticket. A lot of times Stripe, PayPal, like they're just not doing the financial system justice, for commerce. So I think there's still going to be some big players that are going to come out of this space, digital for processing digital payments without the pushback? Or how many people do we know that get held money, hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time?
Oh.
And there's no rep, nobody's telling you anything. You're chasing your own money. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's insane, man. After I think 6 months of sending emails back and forth to Stripe, we finally got our money released, which is insane because you got to think about it like this. They're doing equivalent to what the banks do. What do the banks do with your money? Let's say you have a huge, liquid cash in the bank. They're going to use that to give loans out, and they're making the interest off of that. And that's why when you go to the bank and you want to withdraw more than $10,000 in person, guess what? Oh yeah, you got to wait a week. Because they got to bring the money in, dude. It's just like people don't realize this. You got to wise up. You got to leverage your money, And then
so what happens when people can sign up? Like say people hear some of this and they're like, dude, like I want to learn, like what's process step 1, step 2, step 3 for somebody who, maybe wants to give that type of business a try?
Yeah, super simple. You could DM me on my Instagram, Paul Alex. And then you can also go to our website. It's cashswipe.com. And then we also have informational calls. So you'll be able to talk to an actual person, one of my employees, and they'll walk you through the whole thing. So basically, we do presentations on exactly how it will look. We have 9 different offers. So we could do everything from, hey, we'll provide you the information, or you can actually do one-on-one in person with an 8-9-figure entrepreneur that's done this for several years. We also do about 4 to 5 different sessions, clinics, virtual clinics, where we actually teach you prospecting, sales, marketing, dude, absolutely everything.
Yeah.
We'll be able to transform, like I said, nurses, Uber drivers, first responders, farmers, construction owners into full-time entrepreneurs because of this whole program, because of this whole niche. It's wonderful, dude.
That's amazing.
And this is one of the main reasons why now I'm able to go ahead and me and my wife, we're planning a move to Puerto Rico because of this. Now we're looking to expand to Puerto Rico to actually go ahead and hire a massive amount of the population over there, dude. Create sales jobs, customer service jobs. It's going to be awesome, dude. I'm excited.
Dude, that's incredible. And also, I love seeing you and your wife on Instagram, the stuff you post. I know you kind of are a private guy, but even just the advice and wisdom you post on that. I wanted to talk a little bit about the crazy story, A, of how you met your wife, and then B, how you guys ended up getting married. I know it's quite the story.
Yeah, man. It's a very cool story. I mean, it leads us back here to Vegas where we're at, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Basically, we've been together for about a year now, and we met on social media. We met on social media, man. And with me, I have my employees on my profile. So my employees, they go through hundreds and hundreds of messages on my profile. And then they go ahead and they screen through all of that. So I remember it was like 5 a.m. one morning, dude, a Saturday morning. And I'm like scrolling through my profile, just looking. And I think one of her friends, how it happened was one of her friends had started following me, who was a lawyer. And then some way, somehow through the algorithm, I saw her profile. I'm like, wow, she's such a beautiful girl. So, dude, I'm not the type of person to be sliding in DMs, but she was like, wow, she's very beautiful. So, hi, my name's Paul. You're very beautiful. That's it. Have a good day. It was awkward, bro. It was awkward. Like I didn't go like, hey, let me get your number. Like nothing like that. And it was so funny because my wife at the time, she always tells me, she's like, I'm such a dork. She's like, I didn't even know that you were like hitting on me. And I was just like, why didn't you think that? She's like, well, I don't know, because, I haven't been in a relationship in a while and all this jazz. And we started messaging each other. So then ended up turning into having about 5 to 6 virtual FaceTime dates before we actually met. And then when we met, it was just like we've known each other for like all our life.
Wow.
And it's one of the things that I always tell people. It's just like, it sounds cliche, like you should marry your best friend.
Yeah.
But you'll know when you have met your best friend, and you'll know that that is the one for you. I mean, at my age, man, I just turned 37. This all basically happened 35, 36. But yeah, dude, when I met her, like we can hang out just like friends. We can laugh. We can just be real about each other. I even told her, like, if I would have met you at the age of 21, I probably would have messed this up. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I would have totally destroyed this relationship. And it's just because you have to grow.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that I always hear. especially from my wife and my mom and my sisters, is that they like to say that women like to mature, or they mature faster than men.
Yes.
And in a sense, they're right. I'll give them that.
And if we argue with them, then we're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So at that age in my 20s, man, I don't think it would have happened just like it happened here. So I went through a lot of life experience, how to find myself, how to know what I wanted in life.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when I met her, it was the perfect opportunity to go ahead and just say, you know what? I'm just going to do this.
How long was it from when you met her to when you guys got married?
Dude, it had to be 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy because my mom's like, you're crazy.
Right.
You'll be divorced within 6 months and all this crap, right?
Thanks for the support, Mom.
Yeah. and I mean, that's just the way my mom cares about me a lot, dude. I'm her only son. So at the end of the day, I could do no wrong, right? so she goes, she's like, well, you weren't wrong about everything else, and she seen me go through shit, bro. Like, when I was trying to be a police officer, she's like, you're not going to be a cop. I became a cop. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, you're not going to be successful in business. Well, look what happened now, right? So it's just like I always proved her wrong, so she couldn't really say anything to me at this time. Mm-hmm. So when I did it, man, we were actually in Atlanta. I was gonna do a keynote speech, and she came with me, and we brought my little dog Cookie. He's an old man dog, and he's 15 years old. He's gone through cancer twice now, and he's still fighting it, dude. He's still hanging in there.
He's a fighter.
Like, he's a fighter, bro. Like he's blind, he has cancer, and he's old, but he's a fighter. I love him.
Kicking.
Yeah. So she knows that this dog has been with me since the age of 22. Mm-hmm. So she knows how much I love him, right? And I remember I was going ahead and working with one of my executives at a coffee shop in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And that morning, dude, she had texted me. She's like, hey, so just to let you know, I changed his diapers. The guy has to wear diapers, right? Because he's so old. He can't hold his fluids. And, I took care of him. Now he's sleeping. I was just like, oh, like it really touched my heart, dude. Like it is what it is. Like I love my dog.
Yeah.
Man's best friend. And I told my executive, I was like, hey, bro, I'm going to get married. I was like, I'm gonna legit after this, go to the mall, go to like Cartier or Tiffany's, buy her a ring, and just propose. Yeah. He's like, you're fucking crazy. He's like, when did you plan this? I was like, right now.
Yeah.
And he was just like, dude, are you serious?
Urgency.
And I was like, bro, success loves speed.
That's right.
And the thing is like, with me, when I make decisions, I'm very decisive.
You're all in. Yeah.
I'm all in, dude.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, they can't be all in because
did you cultivate that?
Yeah.
Because you got burned by the other side, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go, fuck it, I'd rather be wrong and committed and like go bankrupt.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, the other thing, Omar, is that, I've been through so many different situations, good and bad, where you get to a point of certainty. And the only way it could go wrong is if you make the wrong choices, but also have the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
And I always tell people this: whenever you start anything, whether it's business, a new relationship, just do it. Life is short, dude.
Yeah.
Life is short. The next 5 years will be here next year.
Yeah.
So I was like, why wait? We're already in our mid-30s. Let's go ahead and do this. So then, funny story, dude. I went to the mall, went to Tiffany's. I walked in there, and I was just like, I'm not shitting you. 10 minutes later, walked out with a ring, and told the ladies, I was like, hey, so if you see this girl, this is the way she looks, that's my new wife.
Yeah.
They're like, okay. So then I went to the hotel. Remember, she got out of the shower, knocked on the door. I was like, here, I got you a gift. Yeah. She's like, what is it? I was like, just open it. And I was like, I want you to marry me. And then I remember we both, like, we were just like, it was like aha moment.
Yeah.
And then after that, she ended up getting pregnant. So we were expecting a kid, and we were planning the wedding 6 months out. And we had just bought her dress and everything else, man. And unfortunately, we had a miscarriage, right? And, with me, I'm big on mindset, dude. I've been through so much shit in my life where I'm just like, babe, it'll be okay. We'll find a solution. We'll go ahead and handle it as it comes. So then we had moved the wedding from 6 months out to 3 months out, dude. And we shortened the list from it being like 100 plus people to about like less than like 40. And I was like, you know what? Success loves speed. I was like, I don't want to do a hotel. I don't want to go ahead and wait anymore. Let's just go to Vegas. Let's do an old school Vegas wedding. I was like, but let's go like what we want.
Yeah.
I was like, I want good food. I want Elvis to marry us. I want like the white Rolls Royce. I want I want to wear like an old school like black and white tuxedo. I want you to wear like one of those gown wedding dresses.
Yeah.
And she was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. And I was like, you got like 2 weeks to plan all this.
Yeah.
She's like, okay. I was like, here's my card. I got to go to work. So then we plan all this, dude. And it was the most beautiful wedding. Like everybody at our wedding was just like, we've never experienced a wedding like this. Dude, it was awesome.
Wow.
We got married at the Little White Chapel. Then we ended up having the first wedding reception at Golden Steer, which is a very old school steakhouse here in Vegas. And they were like, you guys want to have a wedding reception here at our restaurant? I was like, yeah. And they sent us pictures of like the banquet room that they had. Dude, like it wasn't even meant for wedding receptions, but we were able to fit like 40 people up in there.
Wow.
And dude, like when the day came, it was covered in roses. It was beautiful. And people were like, man, this is the best food. We had people love the food so much, they ordered seconds, froze it, and took it back to California with them. I was just like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? I was like, who does that? But hey, I get it. It's good steak, right?
No,
recommend it, guys. But yeah, man. So that all happened very fast.
Yeah.
And then in the midst of all that, dude, you know, me, myself, I was handling business and, you know, I had to go through another critical incident in one of my businesses where I found out that one of my executives stole $180,000 from one of my companies, dude. And the way I found out, and this is crazy, is two of my clients came up to me. They're like, hey, we like this new offer that you have created. And we want to see if we can actually just pay you whatever the cost is of what we've already paid. So they already paid a certain amount of money for a certain level of one of my programs.
Yeah.
And then I was like, sure, this is going to be your what you have to go ahead and actually pay up. And they were like, but wait a minute, we already surpassed this. I was like, what do you mean? I was just like, yeah, we paid this person that worked with you this amount of money. I was like, I don't see it in the, you know, in the back office. So can you send me the invoices and the messages? So they send me invoices, messages, dude. Initially, bro, when I saw it, I was like, all right, I was dumbfounded because this was a person that worked with me for 2 years. Very, very nice. Like we're talking about almost passive nice. Like just very humble person, doesn't hurt a fly, nothing. And yeah, dude, that took me by surprise because at first I thought it was only like 18,000, and 18,000 is a lot of money. But when it came down to it, it was closer to 180, dude. I'm pretty sure it surpassed 200,000, but that's what we found. And
from multiple people.
Yeah, from multiple people, dude. And what he was doing is he was sending invoices directly to his merchant processing account. And the way he got caught up was LinkedIn. So doofus put his LLC on the invoices. All we did was go ahead, copy the LLC, put it on Google, and boom.
Yeah.
His LinkedIn came up. And I was just like, you dumbass, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And this is a guy that had supercars, he had nice homes, like lived a very high-end lifestyle, and then he's stealing, dude. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? And then on top of that, you're stealing from cops. Like former cops, like an investigator.
And did you confront him?
I confronted him, dude, but at the end of the day, I'm a change guy.
Yeah.
You know, younger Paul, would have probably want to, like, you know, physically attack him. But no, dude, like, I just like, hey, dude, just send me back the money. Like, I don't need to deal with this bullshit.
Yeah.
And got rid of him. And that was it, man. But when that happened.
Did he try to deny it, or you don't want to get into all that?
No, he did. He tried to deny it. Yeah. He tried to deny it. And he's like, oh, yeah. Here's the messed up part about it, man, is he tried to deny it. And then on top of that, until we confronted him with actual hardcore evidence, then he was like, okay, I'm sorry. You know, I was going through a lot of issues. And then on top of that, I was like, okay, great. That's it. But then a couple weeks later, we found out he took more money. which equal to the 180,000.
Yeah,
and I was just like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude?
Yeah.
So we directly just like sent him a email through the lawyer, and we were just like, hey, dude, you're about to go to prison. Like literally, like it's fucking felony, like times 10x.
Right.
The money you stole. And he gave it up, and I don't know what he's doing now, but at the end of the day, dude, it's just like, as a founder, as a CEO, as a business owner, like, yes, you could care for people. You can have empathy for people. You can, trust people. I'm not saying not to trust people, but at the end of the day, just do your due diligence and just double check your numbers when it comes to finances. And that includes family. That includes family, friends, anybody. Because the last thing you would want is that somebody has sticky fingers or sees an opportunity where you're not looking because you're trusting them, and they take advantage of you, man. And, something that my mother always said, it's just like, be careful, be careful. I was like, Mom, these are good friends. And now I learned the hard way, right? And it is what it is. Yeah. But it's a you live and you learn type of lesson, man.
100%, dude. And then you had that rehab. It was like nonstop, like spiritual. It's like spiritual warfare, right? It's like the inner game, and then you think like, oh, let me just succeed in business. That'll help other things. But then you have those types of challenges, right? And then it's just like, as you ascend, it's just the ability to solve more and more complex problems and nuanced problems. So that's like a permanent part of the game. People imagine that it's like, oh, you make a bunch of money and Paul just chills and drives his Ferrari all around town, No. That's like the least thing you feel after like a break from reality. I get it. I wanted to ask too your thoughts on Red Pill.
Yeah.
I actually recently, interviewed Andrew Tate in Romania, which was a wild experience getting to do that in person.
I bet.
But yeah, bro, what's your thoughts on the whole Red Pill movement and maybe how it's evolved for you?
Yeah, man. With the whole Red Pill movement, man, I didn't really get into really thinking about it and then analyzing it until I got married. And the issue that I see going on social media nowadays is that, well, number one, we're all humans, but the world is not supposed to be exposed to each other, right? So what ends up happening is that instead of, let's say, you who might be a good-looking guy, have a job, might have, great characteristics, now you're competing with everybody else in the world, right? And especially online. So what's happening is that you have a lot of people, and some of the things I agree with them, but some of the things I don't because of who they're telling it to. Where they're telling them like, hey, you should want a woman that goes 50-50 with you. You should want a woman that does X, Y, and Z. But then they don't talk about what you are supposed to bring as a man, okay? Now, the relationship that I have with me and my wife is that we're very traditional. When we talked about our life, when we dated, I had told her flat out, I was like, and she had asked me too, she's like, what is your intention to date me? And I was like, my intention with you is I'm looking for something serious. Like, I'm getting to the age where I actually want somebody. I want a soulmate. I want like a best friend. That is my intention with you. She's like, okay. And all right, if it works out and we end up getting married and everything else, how do you see our life being together? And I was just like, well, to be honest with you, I'm at a point in the stage of my game. I'm very confident in myself. I know how to build businesses. You don't have to work if you don't want to. Now, when most guys hear this, younger guys especially, they'll go ahead and be like, oh, simp. Oh, like, why aren't you doing that? The only reason why they think like that is because they're not able to afford to do that. And the one thing you gotta realize is this, man. Yeah. It's just like, think about it like this. If your mom said, hey, take care of this, or hey, mijo, can I go ahead and can you cover my bills? Are you gonna treat your mom like you're gonna treat these girls you're dating? It's just like that's what I don't agree with, is the fact that you have a lot of red pill guys out there right now going ahead and spreading this nonsense that you have to treat women like they're shit. At the end of the day, if you're an alpha, confident guy, you know what you got, you know? With me and my wife, I tell my wife, hey, babe, you could go out with whoever you want. I don't care. And I'm not talking about dudes. I'm talking about like with her friends. If she wants to go out with her. But see, the thing is, you got to know who you're dating.
Right.
With me, I'm so secure in my marriage, in my relationship, that she is a humble girl. She doesn't like going out. She likes to sleep at 9 p.m. like me. She likes to go ahead and travel like me. She likes to go ahead and she's very frugal like me. So at the end of the day, she's my person. She's my best friend. Most people don't have that connection because the first thing they think about is money.
Right.
And if you got to think about money, that is a poor person's mindset. The one thing you need to think about is, okay, can I communicate with this person? Can I go ahead and can I see myself building with this person? And if you're able to say yes to those two things, great. That must mean you have a great person in front of you, right? The reason why it didn't work with my previous relationships, and I've been in a 4-year relationship, 7-year relationship, a couple of other serious relationships throughout my entire life, dude, is because of the communication. I didn't know who I was. I had a chip on my shoulder. I thought I was the shit and I couldn't do any wrong. But on top of that, I also go ahead and now at this age and time, now that I know myself as a man, I could go ahead and honestly say that, yeah, I was part of the problem as well.
Yeah.
Most people can't be honest with themselves. Most people are not willing to take the accountability in their fucking relationship, dude. And that's what it comes down to, is accountability, right? This is why my wife respects me. This is why every woman that I go ahead and talk to, I respect them. But then they share the same respect to me. Men right now that are having issues with going ahead and talking to women or dating women or being in a relationship or thinking that every woman cheats, that is the wrong mindset to be at, dude.
Yeah.
Because you're already counting yourself out.
Yeah, I think the right way to think about it, I mean, everyone's different. It's hard to say right and wrong for everybody. But I think as a man is focus on your level up.
Yeah.
I love that your podcast is literally called, right? The Level Up Podcast, Leveling Up. But literally that solves so many other of your issues, you know? I'll never forget it. One time I met a guy at a Ferrari dealership and he had like 6 or 7 Ferraris. And I picked his mind. I was like, dude, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living? It's incredible. And the cars were like insane cars, like not just regular, like insane stuff. And turns out he's the guy who manufactures the bags for like 99-cent store, Save-Ons, like the plastic bags that you buy that print the logo of that supermarket on it. But he built it huge, and he just started with one store and just built it huge and got all these huge contracts. And the one thing he told me is that I said, what's your best advice to do that, to succeed like that? And he just said, play offense forever.
Yeah.
Just offense, offense, offense. Like you have to ascend your problems. Like almost like you have, like for example, like CEOs, like say people in your company are trying to solve 10 different issues. You have to be able to ascend yourself as a CEO to you come in and stuff they've been working on for months. You can just come in and in a day make decisions, maybe not have all the answers, but be willing to like move the level up in your ability to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Like that's really what grows people. So I'm curious for you if that's always been the theme, that pressure's where the level up came for you.
Yeah. It's the vision, dude.
Yeah.
In order for you to be a great leader in life, in marriage, and business, is you have to be a master communicator. You have to be actually a delusional leader, dude. You have to have that type of delusion. It sounds funny, but it's true. You have to have that type of delusion when you communicate with somebody, and you got to show the passion. A lot of people, when they talk, you're already getting analyzed by whoever you're talking to.
Correct.
And they're like, okay, this guy is passive. This guy is confident. This guy is arrogant. This guy is confident, but he's a nice guy. You're able to go ahead based on like your tonality of how you talk, how you are perceived. Absolutely everything. But when I tell people, it's just like the reason why life is so good right now for everybody that I help, and also my wife and my family and my mom, is because I've been able to change their mindset, their vision, but also I've been able to show them what is possible when you're optimistic, when you're actually coming there with intention. And that's the thing that most people forget, is the intention of what you are trying to accomplish in life, dude. If your intention is to find the woman of your dreams, okay, you got to ask yourself, how are you going to attract the woman of your dreams? Are you going to go ahead and change the way you look, your physical appearance? As humans, what's the first thing that we see? We see with our eyes, dude.
Right.
So obviously you have to be attractive to the person you're trying to go ahead and be with, right? So that's the same thing. And this is why me and my wife were able to go ahead and agree on so many of these topics, is because she actually loved the red pill stuff before. She's just like, yeah, I agree with this. I agree with this. She's very neutral. But at the end of the day, she's a realist like I am. Okay. It's just like most people need to go back to that traditional values. Most people need to get off the bullshit dating apps. Most people as men, and I could talk to you as a man because I'm a man. I could go ahead and tell you as a man, if you are properly trying to court a woman, okay, on a first date, you fucking pay for everything, dude. No woman wants to go out with a peasant. No woman wants to go ahead and go 50-50 with you. If that's your ideal of what's fair in life, you're a fucking victim. You're a fucking sheep. That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You need to grow the fuck up, grow some balls, and make more money. Because money might sound greedy, but money does solve a lot of problems. It solves a lot of problems. And at the end of the day, you will be far more respected if you are able to take care of you and yours, dude. So
a question I have real quick about that is, for you, when you talk about money, you know, a lot of times you've ascended and tried different things in your career. As you found success, you obviously leveled up the opportunity. But for you, where did that relationship with money come from? Because I'll give you an example. One of the things I noticed is like the marriage, you met her, evaluated, talked about values, boom, you got married. The business, you tried this, okay, boom, that worked. Okay, then the next thing, boom. So there's this like urgency where things work.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a lot of things behind the scenes that don't work.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you, where do you think your superpower came from when knowing how to make money? Like obviously you know the power of it, but was it the urgency of the intention of what it would do for you, or was it the actual nuance of being good at business and seeing opportunity? Does that make sense? Was it the pull or the push for you that I guess drove your success in business?
So I'm going to say it's totality of the circumstances, man. And what I mean by that is just like when I was very young, I was hard-headed. So I have to learn from experiences. And what ends up happening is they go ahead and try a new venture and then they end up quitting once it gets hard. With me, I've tried hundreds of new ventures. I've tried hundreds of different ideas. I've talked about that. I've executed on that. And yes, some failed, some succeeded. But at the end of the day, all you need is that one idea, one opportunity, and it'll completely change everything for you. It'll change your life. It'll change the way you move, the way you think, the way that you operate. And with me, man,
Cashswipe.com.
Cashswipe.com. The critical incident that completely changed my life, dude, that like it's a godsend, dude, was rehab.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not telling you guys to go to rehab just to go to rehab, but I'm just saying, like, go talk to somebody. Talk to a therapist. Go ahead and pay for it. Yes, it costs money. At the end of the day, guys, you got to take care of your mental health. You got to take care of your health, and you got to go ahead and perform. Look, we can all make money, especially you guys watching right now.
Yeah.
But what happens when your mental health goes to shit? What happens when your actual health goes into shit? The money's not going to do nothing for you.
Right.
So you got to take care of yourself first. And it's the same thing going into relationships. You got to level yourself up first, man. As a man, if I was to go back in my 20s and you know, talk to myself in my 20s, be like, hey, dude, don't even mess with no girls.
Yeah.
Until you're in your 30s. Just grind. Just focus on your money. Focus on retiring your mom. Like I was able to retire her in my early 30s, but retire her in your 20s. And then that's the flex. People will respect you 100x more by doing that. And then you'll be able to get whoever you want.
Yeah.
You'll be able to be put in those rooms with the people that you only dreamed of, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's just the way society is. So with that being said, man, combination of everything, but majority of it is just life experience. So for like younger people right now watching this, if they're thinking like, dude, like, you know, you got lucky with X, Y, and Z. No, it's not luck. It's just I put myself out there. You can't be scared.
And in collective revenue, what have the businesses done?
With absolutely everything.
Yeah, just to give the audience the context on like full scale of revenue.
So you're talking about 39 million across all my businesses.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. Fast forward, you know, obviously, you know, your story of, you know, initially you were a detective and then law enforcement and then coming to this. Like, could you ever imagine 5 years ago when you were getting out of rehab that this would be the story?
Nah, dude. No. I had no, to be honest, I had 2 books. First book I had in my hand was what was it?
Think and Grow Rich?
Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, dude. That was one of them. But then the second one was How to Influence, How to Win and Influence.
Oh, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That was my first personal development book ever.
Bro,
That's
I read
crazy.
those 2 books. Yeah, completely changed my mindset. And it was a combination of that while in rehab, talking to people, just going out there, looking at different experiences. And I always tell people, like, if you don't have experiences because you come from a small town, or maybe you don't have friends, or maybe you don't have family members, you need to join conferences like this, like, you know, ClickFunnels, like where we're here. Or you need to join masterminds, or you need to get a mentor. You know, at the end of the day, now I don't really feel bad for people that say, well, I'm not successful, I've tried. Dude, what have you tried? How many times have you tried? Have you actually had some skin in the game? Meaning, have you invested in yourself? Okay, what is your routine, right? And typically, when I ask those type of questions, a lot of people, the response, it's not surprising. I'm like, dude, you're not giving up Netflix. You're not giving up going out. You're not giving up, you know, spending time chasing girls to go work on your business. How do you expect to be successful and still live the old life that you're living? You need to give up your old life for your new life. And that's what I did. I gave up, as soon as I got out of rehab, I gave up my old life for my new life. I straight went to 6 months of hell to go ahead and come out a better man, dude. Wow. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Dude, that's awesome. And another thing I just want to add too is, you know, you have the Level Up podcast, so you talk about giving advice to people on how to better their life and be in a better position.
Yes.
But what's cool is that I know you're starting to create this content so people are hearing it from you directly. So instead of just one-off podcasts, you get a recurring opportunity for people who are listening to like learn from somebody through the trenches without paying a penny, you know, before they ever decide to learn. So I think that's awesome. What's your vision with the Level Up podcast?
Oh man. So it started off like, hey man, I'm just going to put more content out there. But we've been ranked top 10 business podcasts in the US, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And people are listening to it, man. Like, I get DMs all the time. I get people approach me. They're like, hey, dude, love the podcast. You know, thanks for keeping it short, bro. And you know, like, hey, guys, like, I'm not going to say I was the originator of having a 5-minute podcast. I actually, back in the day when I was a cop, I used to listen to Ryan Stewman. Ryan Stewman, hardcore closer.
Shout out Ryan.
Yeah, shout out Ryan.
Apex.
Yeah, dude. And I remember he would have completely different backgrounds as me, but he would have Rewire podcast, and it was 5 minutes of just straight fire, bro. Like, and I remember, like, you know, sitting in 2 hours of traffic, going to the police department, like, shit, dude, like, this shit's getting me amped up. So I'd be at the police, like, hella optimistic and shit. People be like, why are you so happy? I'm like, bro, you gotta listen to this podcast. They're like, oh, this is fire. And then it always stuck with me, man. So when I was going through my entrepreneurship journey, and I was like, all right, it's time to do a podcast. That's what I said. I was just like, you know what, dude? I loved his 5-minute podcast. I'm going to do the exact same thing, except I'm just going to call it the Level Up instead of Rewire. And then I'm going to just make it based on my experience. And that's what it was, man. That's it. I just copied what worked already, and I just added my twist to it, which made it unique. And then my audience is attracted to that. And that's why I tell everybody, it's just like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, that's why I like investing in like black and white businesses, tangible businesses, old school businesses that people already know, that they're comfortable with, right? One of the biggest needle movers right now is, you know, the trades, plumbing, electrical, you know, all these different HVAC. Why are these all popular right now? Because
roofing. One of our clients sold his roofing business for $750 million.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Now they're rolling up a bunch of them. It's an amazing home services business opportunity.
Yeah, it's massive. But the reason why it's massive is because a lot of the owners are baby boomers. So they're all retiring. So they're looking for new operators. So the simplest way to go ahead and invest into a business is to actually go ahead and buy an existing one already if you have the cash flow. If not, go into a business just like I said, like credit card machine business, ATMs. I even saw a niche where people were now cleaning garbage cans, dude. And people were making like $450 a day.
Wow.
You know, there's so many different opportunities out there. You just got to go ahead and try it and go all in. 100%. You can't go half 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And as long as you go all in, you can at least say you tried. And there's no failures in life. There's only lessons. Everything that I've gone through has been a lesson, dude. Going to rehab was a lesson. Being a cop was a lesson. Being in corporate sales was a lesson. You know, having my first heartbreak was a lesson. Getting married was a lesson. Now I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm going to build, and I'm able to lead by example, right?
I love that, man.
Yeah, dude.
And it's funny to say nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning you give it. I'll never forget it. I had a coach from the Tony Robbins company who had gone through a breakup, and I told him, and he was like, dude, congratulations, man. That's fucking awesome. How are you going to celebrate? I was like, what? I found out later that he was doing a pattern interrupt, right? But then he talked to me. He's like, dude, well, what's good about this? Like, and I was like, well, I don't know, dude. Like, nothing's good about it. And he goes, well, if you did know what was good, what would be good? And so he got me all jazzed up, and I went from being like depressed about this thing, you know, and then he taught me that lesson, is that nothing in life has any meaning except the meaning you give it. The same thing that for someone else would mean a breakdown, for someone else is a breakthrough, you know? And it was then that I actually started the podcast, that breakup, because and he told me that, like, hey, I'm not just breaking up with her, I'm breaking up with my old identity attached to her. Right. And then and he just sort of reframed it. And so sometimes what's great about podcasts and mentors and stuff like this is that you can reframe, right? Like, how many people in your situation in law enforcement could have gotten a DUI, gone that situation, and have used that as justification to spend the rest of their life miserable and depressed? You know what I mean? Whereas you took it to, like, build this massive business and turn your life around and empower others to turn their life around, all because just one little tweak in the way you looked at it changed your whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all came from just being inspired from others, man. Like I said, I was put in an environment where there was good people that needed help while I was in rehab. And I was just like, dude, these people are like me. And they're actually more successful than me. I was just like, but they still face these issues. And that's what a lot of people see. They think, like, once you start building, like, a successful business, or let's say you get that, like, highlight career that you've always wanted, that your problems are going to go away. No, they actually, it's like 50 Cent always said, more money, more problems. I'm just saying, it's the reality of the game, guys. And, but at this stage of the game, you got to be able to handle the heat. You got to be able to handle more pressure, because that's just the way it goes.
No pressure, no diamonds.
That's it.
My man.
That's it.
My man, Paul, where can people find out more? I'm so grateful to do this podcast with you on round 2. Where can people connect with you if they want to learn more about the Level Up podcast, some of the stuff you got going on, Cash Swipe? If they want to connect more, we'll put links down below. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. They can check me out on Instagram, Paul Alex, Facebook, The Real Paul Alex, and then the Level Up podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. We're on YouTube as well. 5 minutes of motivation, guys. If you guys like to get motivated every single day, and I give you guys real life experiences. And then if you're interested in the credit card machine business and you want more information about that, well, you can book a free informational call at cashswipe.com. Awesome, bro. We'll put links down below. Last thing before we wrap is we always play a game. I don't know if you remember it from last time. First things first. Yep. It's the word relation game. So I'm just going to rifle off a quick word or phrase, and then you just tell me the first word or phrase that comes to mind. Okay. Fun little game we play at the end of every episode. Let's do it. The only rule is that you can't repeat yourself twice. Okay. Make sense? All right, let's do it. All right. First word, financial freedom. Ooh. Passive. The moment you knew your wife was the one. Best friend. Cashswipe.com. Culture. The worst day of your life. Oof. Rehab. The best day of your life. Rehab. Oh, I can't say it twice. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say New Year's Eve day. Why? Because that was the day I left rehab. Ooh. The biggest misconception you had about what it would take to be on this side of success. I needed to come from money. Best advice you'd give to yourself 10 years ago when you were in the trenches. Focus on you. Focus on your level up. The biggest limiting belief you had to overcome. That I could do it. That I could do it. I think that's the belief that most people don't have within themselves, that they cannot do it. And we're all average people, dude. We all bleed. We all cry. We all have issues. At the end of the day, it just comes down to your experiences and the people that you're around. And I think I've been around such great people, dude, like yourself. Like, this is awesome. But the people around you definitely shape you to where you're going in the future. So, well said. Your why? Ooh, my why. Well, my wife, my future kids we're gonna have, my family, my clients, the future people I'm gonna be working with. Like, yeah. And then the last one. When Paul Alex is dead, gone, and nothing but a pile of dust, what do you hope your life's all about? Oh, man. Well, I want to inspire my kids. I want to inspire my future kids. I want them to be better than me. I want everybody that works for me right now to actually be better than me. I want everybody that, I've mentored, everybody that I've helped in any type of way to be better than me. Because then that shows what type of leader I was. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much for doing the pod. Appreciate you, man. We got to do a round 3 sometime soon, but this was awesome. And for guys, if you want to follow him, make sure to check out the links in the description below, as well as check out cashswipe.com. And as always, go chase those dreams. We'll see you on the next episode. Oh, and make sure to hit that subscribe button.